Donna. Alright guys, what we're doing today is, guys, we're changing the oil and the coolant on the Suzuki m109R boulevard. Alright, first generation. Alright guys, as you can see, I got the bike apart, and in order to do this, you don't need to take apart or disassemble as much as I have. But if you've been following me, you'll know that I've been doing other maintenance to the vehicle. But what we're focusing on today is changing the oil. And there you go. There is the oil that's recommended for this bike. X-Star Suzuki brand oil, 10W40 weight. And there is the coolant by X-Star for the Suzuki. Right. And for oil, you're going to need, I believe it's 3.8 quarts and 2.9 quarts on the coolant. Right? Alright, so first thing you're going to do is you're going to have to get in. We're going to start with the coolant first. Now, in order to access the coolant, you're going to have to take off this piece right here, which I already taken off here. Again, you don't have to take off the entire fairing like I have, but you're just going to need access to where you're going to add your coolant, and that's right there. Right, you're going to take this off, and I believe that's held on by hex bolt and maybe like a push pin there, or you can just pop that out real quick to get access to it. And you're going to open your cap just because it's pressurized to get to allow it to drain more freely. Right. Okay, once you do that, you're going to come down here, and there's points of interest that you need to make a note of, because there is a coolant hose here. You're just going to take your hose clamps and press that in and slide that off. And as you can see, your hose, your radiator is connected to your oil canister, right? So I believe the coolant cools the engine oil also. That's why it passes through there. But you're gonna take, there's two ends. There's that end and there's that end. You're gonna just remove that hose to allow the coolant to drain out. But also on the other end, there's another part right there. There's another clamp. You got to take that off of there. So there's connections on both ends of the oil cooler right there and right there. You got to take both of those off to drain that coolant out. Right. And also there is another end that you're going to have to go to, and that's going to be at the reservoir or the container. You got the container right here. Now, when you do all that draining and drop those hoses, it's still going to be cooling inside of here because, like I said, it's pressurized. So you're going to have to go down here with your little clamp and unclamp that hose clamp and allow that coolant to drain out of there into your container there. Because, like I said, again, it's pressurized. And here's the top of your reservoir container right in your top here, where this cap is right here. Of course, you're going to do this when the engine is cool. You don't want to do it when it's hot, right? I advise you do it as the bike has been sitting overnight, right? Now again, being that the engine, your connections for your coolant are connected to your oil filter here, you might as well do your oil change and your coolant change at the same time, right? And again, it's easy to take this oil cap off. You don't need to take the entire fairing off, because there's a hole down here for the fairing where you could take this out. you can reach under there and just screw that out. So you don't necessarily have to take the entire front fairing, the radiator guard, and all that off to get to it. Again, like I said, I'm doing other stuff to the bike. I'm doing a full maintenance on it. Now, also, guys, I'm going to also do the gear oil. I got some gear oil here. I'm gonna go back there. I'm gonna save that for a different video, as if I have not got to that yet. But now back to, since we've got the coolant changed out of the way, now we're gonna talk about doing the oil. Again, with the oil changes, there's 2 bolts. Normally, when you oil change, there's only 1 bolt for draining the oil, but on this bike, it's 2 bolts. There's one there, and there's another one in the back. There's one in the back, and there's one in the front, and it's a 17 millimeter. And when you loosen those bolts up, you take them off, they're going to have washers on them. So you're going to replace the washers. And when you buy your oil from a reputable dealer, they come with the washers, right? You won't get the bolts, but you get the washers with your oil, right? And I ordered mine off Amazon. I paid about $70 for 4 quarts of oil. And the coolant, I got 3 quarts. I mean, that was about $50, right? And I recommend to put in the brand of the company of the bike. And it's being an older bike. That's the reason why I'm going with the dealer brand and not some other aftermarket brand, right? And of course, when you're draining, you're going to have your bike stood up straight. You don't want to have it like on the kickstand. You want to use like some type of jack like I got. So the bike will be, you know, straight up, so the oil can drain freely. And that's pretty much it, guys, on how to drain the oil, engine oil, and the coolant on the Suzuki Boulevard M109R. Now, when I get ready to do the gear oil, this is the gear oil right here. This is where the gear oil is located, right? And I believe this is where you add it at. Wait a minute, this is where it drains down here at the bottom. And I don't know if it's this one or this one that I will add it to. Anytime you're dealing with, I guess this will be your rear differential. If it was a truck, you want to make sure you can take off this top one here. Because if you take off the bottom one to drain it and you can't get this one off, or you strip it or whatever, then you won't have any oil in there. So it's best to take this off first and let that drain. And I think it only takes like less than a quart. So I believe it's like 0.98, and a quart is 12 ounces, I believe. I might be wrong, but that's a real simple job there. And I don't necessarily think you need a video on how to do that. And also, guys, I'm looking to change my brake fluid. Got my brake fluid. That's for the front, and that's for the rear right there. I'm going to be doing that. I might do a video on that, but that's not too bad. And if you can see, I got it's a 2-piston caliper. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to bleed the brakes. You're going to siphon the brake fluid out of there, the old brake fluid. You're going to pump the brakes. You're going to have your hose connected here. And you're going to take the bleeder screw and loosen it up, connect your hoses, and pump the brakes till the old fluid starts shooting out of here through the hose into a container. And you can siphon it from this end. And once all that is out of there, then you can start pouring your new fluid, brake fluid, in there and up there. And I might do a video on that. I might just save it for later. But this is the process, guys. Stay tuned. It's coming.